Hi, chat. Sorry, I just realized that my background music was probably like really loud. Okay, wait. Cat goes mute. You have questions about PID controllers. Okay. I can probably help. I've actually been doing a lot of work on, well, that's something I'm supposed to be working on right now, but right now I just I didn't really want to work right now. So I'm not working on my controller right now, but that's something I need to do this week. But if you have questions, I'm happy to sort of explain. You get the initial equation with the sum of the three terms, but you don't get the tuning part. Okay. Let me bust out the whiteboard. You want this, and then Kerchow. Pa. Okie dokie. So PID controllers, right? You first of all understand like what the whole idea of like a controller in general is. It's like the general idea, right, is if this is like the space that something lives in, and you want it to be here, but, you know, for one reason or another, it's not there, it's here, right? The controller is something that's designed to move things to where you want them to go, right? So if this is our target, right, what controllers are supposed to do is, like, wherever your object is, the controller should slowly bring it towards the target. Or rather, like, it should quickly bring it towards the target. The better your controller is, the more effectively it brings things to target. Yeah, exactly. So it's mapping things towards an outcome, right? Okay, perfect. So I drew it in 2 dimensions because, you know, controllers can be many different levels of dimensions where they can be controlling all sorts of things. I think a lot of times, people, just for ease, I think it's somewhat useful to do 1 dimension, just because people normally think of error in one thing. So, like, if your goal is to be at 10, and you start at 0, right? So 10 is this line up here, right? That's 10 throughout all of time. And then the x-axis of this chart is like how time goes on. If you start at 0, your controller should go whoosh and bring you to 10. Okay. So, in terms of PID, you know what they stand for, right? The first one is proportional. The second one is integral. And then the third one is derivative. Do you understand, like, what the math of these different things is, right? Proportional is just like if we're just straight up far away, so like in the beginning we're 10 away, so that's a lot, right? So in the beginning our P will be like very big, and then later as we get closer we're less far away, so our P will get smaller, right? Hi, random guy. How are you? Sorry, I'm nerding out right now because one of my other viewers was asking me about PID controllers. I hope you have a good day, random guy. Hi, Xenotime. Okay, so anyway, you might worship the PID. I worship the LQR. I worship the anyway. The poor decision yesterday, chat. I saw 5080s were available, so I just immediately pulled the trigger on buying a 5080. Okay, back to the PID for Cat, if Cat's even still here. There's the proportional, the derivative, and the integral. No comment, Ash, no comment. Okay. Good, so integral, and it's weird that you say flexion. I always just, you know, I suppose that word might be a word that people use for derivative, but I definitely have only ever heard it called derivative. But so what you're looking at is like how far your current point is, right? How far your current point is, right? If it's getting closer, right, that's the derivative, right? So at this point, we've gotten closer. So that since our us getting closer means our error is smaller, our derivative is negative. So your D generally is gonna slow you down, slow your approach down. And your I is like for long-term steady state rates. So how I guess my professor put it, that is the most effective, like to just think about what these gains do is, P is like, bring us there, right? If we're not there, bring us there, okay? I is if we haven't been there for a really long time, speed up. And D is if we're getting close. Slow down. So that's why you see like the classic example is like what I just drew, where your target is 10 or whatever, and just P would look something like this, right? Eventually you get to a point where like the level of error is really small, so you're not giving it very much energy, and you have some level of friction. And because you're not giving it much juice and there's some friction, you actually just don't get to your goal, right? So you adjust for that. Right, that was our just P controller. You adjust for that by adding the I controller. And then it looks like this. Well, more or less starts the same. It looks like this. But over the long time of being not on target, you get my ability to draw. Over long periods of time not being on target, the I adds up and you get more onto target, right? And then that's PI. And then PD or PID. In addition to slowing us down and when we get close, D also in changing states gives us a sort of head start in the beginning. So you might use your D for like a very rapid response, and then over time you might overshoot it or whatnot, and then it would go like that, right? But the idea is by sort of balancing the P, the I, and the D, you can get like something really nice, And if you have a really nice bounce controller, it just shoots up and it stays on target really nicely. Okay, so like all the math of these different weird like calculus terms is good to understand like what the controller is doing, but really what you sort of like when you're tuning these, all you really need to sort of think of is like P is your base. P is gonna get you there. This is the base of your controller. This is what it's built off of. I is correcting things long term, and D is correcting things short term. D is so slick when it's tuned right, but D oscillations are a pain in the butt. Yeah, I mean, I think in this really classic example of just like you start at some number and you want to approach another number, I think D seems really, it can feel really unnecessary, but the real value of D is when you have a signal that's when your target moves, right? So if your target's in the beginning for some reason is like 5, and then it shoots up to 10, your like initial controller would have been like whoosh, right? That's your goal. This point right here where your error is going to really quickly change. Your error is going to change from 0 error because you were on target to suddenly 5 error because suddenly the goal jumped away from you. Your D is going to really help with you adjusting to meet the like big jump. Okay, so that's why I say in addition to just slowing us down, D also sort of gives us boost head starts in these situations where your goal is going to suddenly move. Sorry, I should draw more properly and be like, if you didn't have a D controller, you'd probably look something like this, and then shoot up, but your D controller would like help this be much faster. But the D component of your controller, I found, is really easy to just be too much. So like, you normally want to play with your like the values of them you want to play with. The P you want to play with like a pretty good amount. Like, of course, all the numerical values like change from time to time, but I feel like your P value, you change like quite a bit. Your I value, you change like a still good amount, but not quite as much. And then your D value, you use like a really small value, and you only tiny changes. How do we determine the K values? Okay, so it really depends on your use case, but I'm going to tell you the truth of the matter is 90% of the time, all you should do when you're like building a real controller is you should guess and check. And you should tune them in the order that they are provided. You should start with the P, which is like the very base of your controller. And then if you have error at the end, you have steady state error, then you start adding an I. And then D is just like really cleaning things up so you can get really sharp spots. But again, really be careful with tuning your D. There's like some mathematically rigorous ways to get I actually won't even say exact values, but what the more correct term is optimal values, because really the values that you want sort of depend on like what you care about, right? And if you care about some things, it will change what you should have higher and what you should have lower. Again, you sort of should just keep in mind, like, what each of these do. Right? It's normal, long-term accuracy, short-term, like, quick, agile adjustment. But yeah, I mean, I think PID is like the most go-to controller, right? It's a very easy to approach controller once you like understand it in general, and it's really easy to apply it to a lot of things. But like I said, one of the things I've learned, one of the technologies or maths or whatever you want to call it, techniques I've learned recently is called an LQR, which is like a linear quadratic regulator. Yeah. And what that does is that, like, that's a very specific set of math that, like, automatically does your K values for you. But again, the reason it's automatic is because it's quote-unquote optimized, and it's very much optimized around an exact idea of, like, you want to balance your error with your control input. And it's like these two things are like different balances on the scale. Ugly drawing. And like, the more you care about error, then like the faster your thing is going to approach your target, but it's going to use more power, more energy. And the more you care about input power, then it's going to use less energy, but it's going to approach much slower. All good, cat goes Mew. All good, cat. But anyway, the K values, I really recommend you sort of just play around with. And if you have like, if you have a specific example, it's probably easier for me to help you than for me to just talk about generally. Also, sorry for neglecting other chatters. Sorry, Ash. How are you, my love? But yeah, I don't know if I was talking about this with you guys earlier, but I'm doing a lot of a lot of my coursework right now is based on controllers. So it was like, I was like, oh, controllers. And Xenotime, you say it's far from the best, but like, I also don't know if it's fair to really say anything is the best, right? Like, best is really defined by like your use case, right? And I feel like there's plenty of times where the use case does say PID is the best, because a lot of the time something you care about in your use case is it being easy. And PID is really easy to implement once you like know it, right? I would rather be able to put in a PID controller in the course of, you know, a couple hours and get it functional than have to spend several days working on something way more complex and be like 2% better, right? 5% better. What poor decisions have I made? I bought a bunch of computer hardware yesterday. I was like, wait a second, this email from Newegg? They say they have RTX 50 series? I I want a 5090, and then I went to Newegg, and I immediately looked at the 5090s, and I was like, wait a second, they're still $3,000, frick. But they're available. Huh. And then I looked at Best Buy, and there was a 5080, and I was like, wait a second. If Best Buy has them, then that means the shortage is sort of over. They didn't sell out immediately in 20 seconds. In any given situation, you can almost always do better than PID. That's probably true, right? Just because, again, it's really dependent on what you want, but I think a lot of times optimal, quote-unquote, optimal controls are still going to be basically implementations of PID half the time, right? So, like, what I talked about with LQR is optimized around error and input, but LQR is actually just PID in disguise. And it's just all it does is it generates the P, the I, and the D values for you. So this is just like a technique that builds your controller, your PD controller. I think technically in most cases it's just PD, but you can integrate I components into. Could you use gradient descent to fine-tune the K values? Wait. You're trying to get a hovercraft in a game to hover above the ground and stay near a surface. Okay. I don't know what gradient descent means, because all that I think of like, oh yeah, it's the gradient of air pressure, and I don't know if that's what you're talking about. But cat goes mew. Unless you, like, for some reason only get one shot to choose your values, right? Then I really, again, suggest you pick random values. You probably want to start, like, with some level of medium values for P and I, and then, like, a small D value. And then you just play around with it based on, like, what you see, right? So, for example, in your idea where you've got, like, this is the ground, and say you've got, like, a hoverboard, right? You've got your hoverboard that starts off, I guess we'll say, well, it starts off, and then you drop it and it, like, turns on, right? If it turns on and just immediately goes whoosh and hits the ground, right? It just smashes into the ground. Then you probably want bigger P, but you also could potentially go for bigger D, right? Bigger D. Dirty brain, dirty. But the reason that you might consider bigger D is because, like, when you first drop your hoverboard, right? When you first drop your hoverboard, your board's going to accelerate towards the ground, right? That's acceleration. Your D is going to respond really, really well to acceleration. The problem is, if your D is too big, then what your hoverboard is gonna do is it's gonna go whoosh, and it's gonna, like, oscillate. Or things like that, right? You're gonna end up with, like, weird jitters, because what happens is it gets really strong and then it pushes backwards, and then what you have is you have that same acceleration except going up instead of down. And then your D is like, wait a second, no, I didn't want to do this. And then you end up, like, with these D oscillations, right? If you just start with the P though, right? You just start and you go whoosh, and you realize that you're, like, really low to the ground and you want to be higher. Then you add I, because your I will slowly push you back towards your target. Hi, Misa! Hi, Misa! I almost missed you. I don't even know how. I panicked and pressed the wrong button, but I guess that's perfectly appropriate because we're getting married, right? Not that we are getting married or that I've been fantasizing about anything weird like that. No, I did. Sorry, I've been nerding out about stupid engine. I didn't even, like, chat, I wasn't even planning on talking about engineering stuff today. And then one of my viewers was like, hey, I'm learning about this. W learning? I don't know. Maybe I'm just making Cat more confused. Maybe I'm just confusing the masses. Maybe I'm spreading information. You should check your sources. Anyway. With your hoverboard example, again, like I said, I think it's really, really helpful to play with these things and just sort of like fiddle with them, tinker with them, see what feels good. Yup. One of the things I heard that I think is like probably is true and is like a good thing to keep in mind. I won't say it's a model, a motto, but I'll say it does seem like pretty true is you teach a tinkerer math and they become a good engineer. You teach a mathematician to tinker and they're probably not going to be that good of an engineer. Right? The thing that's going to make the best engineers is people who just want to play with things. I just want to play with things sometimes. Although, to be honest, I'm more like a math girly. Enjoy your food, Misa. I hope it's good. It's like early there, isn't it? Lunchtime? Delicious lunchtime? I don't know about you guys, but today I had Mexican food for Cinco de Mayo. Yum. And now I sort of want more, but I'm trying to diet and lose weight. Frick, it's so hard. Okay. That's really helpful information, Cat. Okay. So, hold up. I always do this stupid thing where I'm painting in Krita and I paint on the background layer so I can't just cleanse the layer. Oh, that's double stupid because I made a black layer instead of white layer. Okay. So you have hoverboard, right? Hoverboard. One of these days, I'm going to learn how to, like, actually draw diagrams smoothly on this tablet. Okay, Cat, you don't have hoverboard. And then when there's cliff, it gets really jerky. Hi, Haru. How are you? I'm talking... Oh my god. Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hello, Raiders. I'm sorry if this seems really silly and dorky, but I'm talking with one of my viewers about PID controllers right now. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for the raid. Oh my god. So many followers. Thank you for the raid, Mahjong Pill. Shit, chat, I need to practice Mahjong because I need to basically relearn it because I'm supposed to play this Saturday. I'm gonna have to work on that this week. Later this week, chat. Later, TM. Mahjong training arc. But we're talking about, yeah, PID controllers. And Cat Goes Mew says, reaching target height but gets really jerky when you go off a cliff to a lower level. You want something more smooth. Okay, so when you go off this cliff, right? I guess I should make the cliff sharper, right? What's happening is it's going like whoosh. Is that it? Correct or incorrect? Hello? Hi, thank you for the raid. Hope your stream went well. Wait, is your alt account purely for when you do Mahjong, or are you a Mahjong streamer? But yeah, it's nice to meet you. Also, I understand if you have to raid and run and do your post-stream care and all that stuff. None of the waves at the... Okay, excellent. This is all really helpful. So what happens is... you just, like, kerplow into the floor. Okay, here's what I was saying is... Your controller, I assume, is based off of how far your hoverboard is from the ground, right? So when your hoverboard gets here, suddenly your error is like really big. Right? Am I understanding that correctly? That's what you have some sensor? Or that's what I would assume. I would assume there's a sensor on the bottom of the board and that measures how far you are from the ground. And then your board... That's actually sort of interesting, right? Because what I would think is with this big error, you would momentarily go up. Do you go up first, or do you just immediately plummet? I also am really curious about, like, the physics of the hoverboard, because I guess it sort of makes sense that, like, the closer you are to the ground, the more lift you have. You just plummet. You just go straight whoosh. Is that correct? So I guess what I would think then is it's based on... your lift is based off of how far you are from the ground. No, wait, it's because your target point is here. And suddenly your board is like, wait, I'm way too high. I've been thinking about this backwards. Your board is like, wait, I'm way too high. I need to be lower. I think you need a bigger D, right? And what that's going to do, like I said, is like, that's the idea of as you get close to this target point, it's like slow down. Target position plus transform position plus shortest rate. These are words. These are definitely words that I don't feel like I am prepared to parse right now. You're a second year of computer engineering and you do not understand any of this. Wait. I'm Geyser. Wait, is that how you pronounce it? Anyway, I'm Geyser. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, we're talking about PID controllers. And the idea of controllers in general is, I would say, it's error correction, right? So if you have some value, say what's the classic example? Cruise control on your car. Here we go. And you set your cruise control on your car to like 50. But for some reason, you were able to do this from resting, right? Your car was at 0, and then you suddenly set it to 50 mile per hour target. Cruise control is a classic example of a control system where, like, you're just trying to bring yourself to a target, right? So how it works is it measures how far you are from the target. So in the beginning, you're really far. And what it does is it applies some correctional force based off of how far you are. And the first component is proportional. That means if you're really far, it's going to apply a lot of force to bring you up to 50. And if you're less far, it's going to apply less force to bring you up to 50, right? So it's proportional to how far away you are from your target. And then the second term is, I guess, integral. It should be in red. Integral. The reason you have integral is for long-term correction. So what you might think of is with proportional, as you get close, because you get close, you start giving less gas to your car, right? As your car gets to like 47, 48, because it's so close, it's like, oh, I don't need to give as much gas. But because you're giving less gas and there's still air resistance, right? Your car's maybe going to hit this point where it just stalls out at 48, right? And it just keeps giving the same amount of gas there. Integral does exactly what it says, and it takes the integral of like how your error, right? All this error, and it integrates it. So like over a long period of time, your integral is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger because it keeps adding. And that's going to cause you that value to build up. And as that builds up, it's going to give you more juice, and then you're going to hit your target, right? So integral is long-term stuff. And then D is derivative. Yeah. And that's just like derivatives are the opposite of integrals. This does like the sort of opposite where your derivative controller tends to be things for like really short-term stuff. So if you have, for some reason, your target value is changing, so we said 50, right? If for some reason you were suddenly able to change it to 80 while your controller was running, this would be your normal PD. Derivative would be like the thing that would like make this sudden change make you respond to it more quickly, right? But it's really, really sort of touchy, and it can cause like all sorts of things like oscillations and whatnot, right? What your goal is, of course, is to have something that looks really nice and it just shoots up to target and stays on target the whole time. Yes, so if it were to stay at 60, it would go down to 50. Yeah, so all of that, of course, also works negative, where if your target was 50, right? And you were at 60, it's the same, just opposite. It pulls you down. Or if for some reason you're already moving at like you've already got some weird acceleration and you're oscillating or whatever, you could build a controller based on these different things, and they should slowly pull you into where you are. Your current algorithm is pretty much the P. Yeah, so I think really, especially because this is something that really is, what you're talking about as an issue is something that really only happens in these quick changes, right? Quick changes tend to be best dealt with by derivative, right? Because that's short-term situations, you know? We immediately went off a cliff and suddenly things were changing really quickly, right? We need a really snappy response. Thank you for the subby! Skill issue, what are you talking about, Bigger D? Bigger D is nuts. Frick you. Okay. I'm sorry, viewers who aren't interested in math or engineering or science at all. This has been like a oddly unplanned STEM talk. And I don't even think I did a very good job of explaining. But yeah, if you get a good feel for like what these do, which is like, I keep harping on just understanding proportional is general stuff, integral is like long-term stuff, derivative is short-term stuff. You sort of get a feel for like when you should tweak one or the other. You like STEM talk? Good, good. Then hopefully we'll get along. Or maybe you'll get angry at me because occasionally I say things that are inaccurate. Have a good night. I'm Geyser? Frick, Geyser. Okay, Geyser. Have a good night, I'm Geyser. Sleep well. Thanks for sharing your community with me. You'll get absolute pissed off, but only because of the Saturday stream. Rip. I don't even... Chat, my stream schedule is in like mega flex right now. Mega... Oh, wait. You're talking about... Chat, it's so weird. It sneaks up on me. Part of me is still like pushing to the back of my brain that the stream is this Saturday. I haven't really relearned the game at all. Okay. Chat. Soon TM, Mahjong training arc. And by soon TM, I mean probably like the whole rest of the week we're just gonna play Mahjong. Training, exactly, Ash, exactly. We're going into the hyperbolic time chamber. Training, voodoo, whatever. It's perfect because this week I don't have homework. You've been playing Go? Like the Go is the one with the grid, right? And you play like white and black? And you put them on like on both sides and it changes their color to yours, right? That's Go? Am I on break now? No, I'm not on break. It's just there was a midterm this past weekend. Chat, this is what I think is actually fucked up. All right, chat? So you've got... I don't know whether you guys are reasonable calendar people or you're psychos who start your week with Monday. But it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? And I guess we'll do 2 weeks, because 2 weeks is pertinent here. I am a remote student, and the not remote students were supposed to take it today. Okay, chat? Today. Today was when the in-person students took their test. I had to take my test Saturday. But here's the thing. To me, when you have a midterm and you want students to prepare for it, you give them a break from homework, right? You give them like a week of not homework so that they can focus on the midterm. Our professor, for some sick reason, has her homework due midnight Friday. So you would think if the homework is due midnight Friday, she should have had this week have no homework so that people could spend this week prepping for the midterm. No, that's not what she did. She had homework due fucking this Friday, the night before I had to take my midterm. And the week of no homework is this week. And that just... It makes me so angry because it makes no sense. Sunday is the first day. Correct. Sunday is the first day. If you're a Monday starter, you're sick. You're a sick man. Or woman. Or non-binary. You're a sick person. But, yeah. I took the midterm this weekend, and now this week after taking the midterm, I just have nothing to do. So we're training Mahjong, chat. We're training Mahjong so we can crush all of our opponents ruthlessly this weekend in the Mahjong collab. What's an ISO week? And why does that make Sunday not the start of the week? We should switch that. Have you guys heard about the idea for the other calendar? Where you have, I think it's 13 months of exactly 4 weeks each. So every month starts on Sunday and ends on Saturday. You guys familiar with that? And then I think that, like, at the end of the year, there's like an Earth Day. ISO date standard is superior? What is ISO, chat? ISO weeks are the standardized weeks? I thought all weeks were standardized. It's not like anyone has a week that doesn't have Tuesday. Imagine keeping track of time. Not me. Couldn't be me, chat. But I like this idea of like the calendar that makes a lot of sense. Has grown on me. I think the one thing that's like sort of weird about this is that I don't know how they would do seasons. Question mark. And I also don't know how I feel about the leap year. Goodbye, Geyser. ISO form. Okay, that is superior, by the way, chat. That is superior. 2025. 5. Well, I guess it's 5-5, so you can't really tell. But year, month, day is for sure best practice, because you can create folders that are automatically sorted perfectly. If I'm creating a folder for my test data, chat, and I create a folder for every day, I'm always labeling it like this. And then they're always perfectly sorted. Day, year, min, hour, month. You're sick. You're a sick person, Cat Goes Mew. That's almost as sick, chat, as starting your indexes at 0. Chat, all I have to say is if there's fucking 5 people lined up, and I'm like, what position is this person in? You're gonna say first! You're not gonna say 0! No, you're all sick. You're all sick. Day, second, year, anytime your minutes, anytime your time values are split up from each other is automatically sickening, right? If your seconds are not, if your hours, minutes, seconds are not all directly next to each other, you're actually psycho. Okay, but counting space, when you say, okay, just so I have the correct example where I said 5 people. When you say counting spaces, you mean this space, right? The space that the person takes up. Isn't this still the first space? Oh, so you're saying it's this space? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay, but why are we addressing spaces when I'm talking about people, right? Like, then I'm like, if I want... I don't know, chat. To me, we're at the point where I'm like, why aren't we counting using base 11, right? Because your fingers, you've got 10 fingies, that could give you 11 values if you include the 0. Can you imagine how awful math would be if it was like base 11? We should be counting in base 64? I mean, I think it's fair to say we should be doing something with our knuckles, right, chat? Use base 12, highly composite? Yeah. But then what do you, like, what do you use for your next digit? And don't say your dick, because everyone knows it's not big enough to be counted. Eyes? Yes. When I need to indicate the additional positions, I will close an eye. And then because by closing my eyes, I am suddenly no longer able to see. It'll be very useful. Multiple cultures do count with their knuckles and fingers. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, chat, I'm sort of jealous about, like, what is it, China or Japan or whatever, where in addition, they can do their whole counting on one hand because they do, like, the weird stuff where it's, like, they've got, like, they've got, like, weird different patterns for their fingers that indicate, like, 4 or whatever, just based off which fingers you use. I wish I knew. I wish I knew, chat. All I want to do is I want to make finger guns at people and hope that it means something. Or you give them the universal. Oh. The one you saw was using each segment? There is also another problem with it, is that I feel like it's very hard to control some segments. Some segments are definitely tied with others, right? Just the same way that your pinky sort of and your ring finger is, like, hard to do one without the other, right? What about military time? What about military? I mean, I think the thing about military time is you actually are starting with nothing, right? Like, in the same way that when you're going from 0 to 100%, you're, like, starting from nothing. I just think of that as, like, percentages. But this person is not 0%. This person is 20% of the group, right? This person is a non-zero amount because they exist, right? When you're at 0, 0, 0, 0, what that actually means is factually no time in the day has passed yet. Only at 0, 0, 0, 1 has time passed, and suddenly, when time has passed, you do have a number. Do they exist or don't they? Twilight Zone music, Vsauce music. Chat, how did we end up here? How did we end up here talking about this stupid, this indexing stuff? It's because MATLAB is the best language. End of story, chat. End of story. I met with my group mates and they are like C++. We should do C++. We should use Ubuntu. And then I was like, MATLAB. And they were like, okay, dumbbell, use MATLAB, we can convert it. And I actually don't even, like, is that how that works, chat? You can't just convert one code to another, right? It's not like, it can't be that easy, right? Otherwise, why would we even have codes? Why would they be different? Ubuntu is peak? What about Ubuntu 3, huh? That'll for sure be better. You can, but it's hard. I think it probably will not be the same, but I know I like was Googling it earlier today, and apparently there's something built into the MATLAB like program, MATLAB compiler program, whatever you want to call it, that is actually a function that like spits out the same stuff that converts it to C. No. Let me make something clear, Ash. It's not that I hate one programming language. It's that I hate all the programming languages. And I don't really hate them. But I've been now I've had to code in Python and C++, and both times I've been fucking up because I want to send a vector with 2 things in it, and so I'm like, okay, read position 1, check, read position 2. Position 2 does not exist in the indices, and I'm like, frick you! I sent a message with 2 parts, so I should be able to tell you to grab part 2. We stan a queen who supports all languages? No. No. I think it's fine for all languages to exist, but some should have to hide. If you are a dirty Fortran user, just keep it to yourself. Don't ask, don't tell. That's a joke, chat. Joke.tm. Don't ask, don't tell was a terrible policy. You like GDScript and Ruby? Unless you're going to give me a script that starts its indices at 1, I'm unenthused about all of them. Unenthused about them all. So, oh, Penbu talking about Fortran. I hear people make crazy money if you know Fortran nowadays, because no one knows it, right? And it still gets used a bunch. Or it's still, a lot of like legacy systems still need it and still need support, but no one knows it. So if you know Fortran, you can like make crazy dollar bills. Dollar bills, yo, cash money. And COBOL? Which one's COBOL? Is COBOL the one that they use in financial district? In banking? Someone was saying, no, it can't have been Visual Basic. Everyone that I've heard from say anything about Visual Basic is like, no reason to have Visual Basic. Destroy it. Destroy it. The reason I'm saying is because we have hardware at my workplace that we're doing updates on, and it runs on Visual Basic, and our software engineer's like, give me a month. Fund me for a month and I will rewrite this in a language that doesn't make me hate my soul. You're stuck in... You know, I feel silly because all you are talking about like real programming languages, and I'm like, mechanical engineer, MATLAB, Visual Basic only existed so corporations could make shitty tools? It's the worst thing to exist, period. That's a very I don't want to say, that's a very, like, extreme take. I think... I don't know. You know what I feel really weird about? I think... Let me see if I remember the name right. Chat, it's funny because there were two that I heard about that were similar names. One was eggplant and the other is cucumber. Let me quickly check which one's which. Ah, it's eggplant. Chat. Eggplant, from my understanding, is supposed to be a language that just uses, like, normal English language. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, right? Because that, in a lot of ways, I feel like is something I should support. I should support anything that is, like, very normal, like a normal person should pick it up. Just like I support indexes starting at 1. Right? So I feel like I should support eggplant. But something about this, like, makes me so suspicious. The idea of, like, oh yes, I'm coding, and my code is just me writing in English. Cucumber. Oh, cucumber, I guess, is also that. But one of them is for a very specific... Oh, I guess it's eggplant is for the very specific. Eggplant, I think, is very specifically for, what's the company? I think it's Keysight? Is it Keysight? Yeah, it is Keysight. And so, Keysight, if you don't know, builds, a lot of, like, sensor type things. Right? You could think of them as similar to, like, maybe not quite the same as, like, Texas Instruments. Lua starts indices at 1, 2. The oscilloscope people, yeah, exactly. Keysight does a lot of things like that. They do spectrum analyzers, they do network analyzers, they do power meters, things like that. All good stuff. All good stuff. Just make my own language that starts at 1? Okay, chat. I'm advocating that whoever is the, like, software Illuminati, whoever's in control at the very top of the software world, should just create all the languages again, but indexed properly, and they'll just call it Python 1. You know, Python, the new indexed at 1 Python will just be Python 1. Just like Xbox turned into Xbox One, right? And then we'll have, you know, C# 1. C++ 1 sounds like a little weird, but whatever. You stopped after the last fiasco? Wait, who rug pulled? Sorry, I'm a little behind on chat. Call Trump to make an executive order on... Ugh! Chat, don't get me started on the executive orders. We're actually just watching a dictator take over. We're actually just watching a dictator take over. On a much more positive note, chat, did you hear the beginning of the month? The start of the month. May has already been a banger, by the way. May is already a banger. Started off with fucking Iron Mouse going to Congress. April was like... The VTubing world went up in cinders. Sorry, I couldn't resist the joke. But VTubing went crazy bad in April. But I think May is our month, chat. May is our month for good things. I feel bad because I shouldn't joke about these terrible things. Like, we had a bunch of graduations. We had a bunch of drama. But I feel like we have good things to look forward to. Chat, do you think Mouse spoke to Congress with her model on? Or do you think they actually saw her face? Right? Because, like, who she is, like, her model is basically integral to who she is. But I honestly think if she spoke to them with the model, they wouldn't take her seriously, right? Also, in addition to May being a good month, I forgot to say anything yesterday, but happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And now it's time for Revenge of the 5th. It's so silly. Such a silly world we live in. May the gay be with you? It's always with me, chat. What's a Star Wars? How dare you? How dare you? Next thing you're gonna be like, what's a Lord of the Rings? Chat. Have you ever met someone who is not a fan of Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter? Have any of you met someone who falls into none of those, who is not a fan of any of those? I'm curious. Like, I'm sure they exist, but to not be a fan of any of those, I feel like you just have to, like, not have a soul, right? You've only watched War Stars and Rings of the Lord. Rings of the Lord sounds like some religious indoctrination. You know how every once in a while you see movies that are like, this is a movie about Jesus and his sacrifice. You know, you see ads for that. That's what Rings of the Lord sounds like. You like none of those? Cat. What do you like? Cute anime girls, I guess. Wait, no, okay. Here, don't say that, Cat, because if you say you liked Harry Potter, then you liked Harry Potter, right? And we can all say, oh, a bunch of people, like, ruin their series by going off the rails, right? But at the end of the day, just Harry Potter, just the series, you liked, right? And the affiliation of Rowling left a bad taste in your mouth. You grew up in a Catholic school? Did you have, like, the nun outfits? Sorry. I'm just thinking the nun outfits and the hitting you with the ruler or the yardstick. You don't watch a lot of anime? Chat, it's so weird to me meeting people who are like VTuber fans but aren't really anime fans. It's crazy how VTubing has become like a thing. It's a thing, and maybe I'm just like, maybe we're super biased and we have like a super selection bias. But I feel like VTubing is like a notable thing. But then again, I also like know there are tons of my coworkers and I'd be like, do you know what a VTuber is? And they'd be like, no, what the fuck's a VTuber? And then my face would go pale and I would not even feel comfortable explaining to them because it's so cringe. So cringe, chat. But again, we've got like VTubers going to Congress. VTubers going to Congress. You do like... yeah, Spy Family is a pretty general one. I think Comey can't communicate. I think got a lot of hype because it was something that a lot of, you know, anime fans can probably like feel some sort of empathy or sympathy, right? Where they're like, Komi is me for real, chat. Just like everyone like Bocchi the Rock, right? But I think Komi was honestly mid. Like, I don't even know if I would say it was mid. Bocchi the Rock was quality even without the idea of social awkwardness, because Bocchi the Rock was just so executed so well. It was just, the jokes in Bocchi the Rock were hilarious, right? Pure comedy. I feel like Komi was funny, but it wasn't like, the main appeal wasn't it being super funny, hilarious. It was, a lot of it was just sort of sympathy and empathizing with the main character, right? You don't have time to watch anime anymore, but you can put a VTuber stream on. Same! Chat, honestly, there's so many things that I want to do, and I'm like, I never want to commit my attention to doing them. But I'll fucking throw on a streamer on second monitor, chat. Easy. Solo leveling is mid. Okay. Half agree, half. Okay. Solo leveling is like, I guess mid is a fair assessment. I think, honestly, what solo leveling is it's simultaneously peak and garbage at the same time. It's like India, where it's basically two different societies of super rich and super poor, right? I think solo leveling is like some pretty peak animation. Pretty peak animations like Demon Slayer, right? And then its story writing is garbage. Story writing garbage. But wait, chat, when are the Crunchyroll Anime Awards? They're soon, right? Crunchyroll Anime Awards 2025. Wait, that's voting. May 25th. Chat, do you think we can watch those on stream? Am I gonna get DMCA'd? Xenotime. I know it's like a quotable quote, but you also have to, like, you see where I'm coming from, right? I'm like for real when I say peak and garbage at the same time, where like it's just two completely opposite things. And I'm like for real when I talk about India is like simultaneously hella rich and hella poor. The first arc is literally a rip of the Chimera. I mean, yes. But honestly, that's the problem with, I feel like all shonen is exactly the same if you look at it like that, where it's just like, oh yeah, bad guy, main character fight bad guy, main character almost lose, main character level up, main character beat bad guy. That's all shonen is. I mean, I used to like, sort of like that when I was younger, and now it's really growing on me, like character development, right? Like actual character development shows, comedy shows, slice of life. Chat, have you heard of that? It's like 7 or whatever. I think it's 7. It's a Netflix anime about a ninja guy who fights with scissors. I saw that in my YouTube Shorts algorithm for a long time, and that looked hilarious, right? And I sort of just want to watch stuff that's funny nowadays. The time of isekai for me is starting to end. Isekai power trip starting to end. Besides Mushoku Tensei, which I still feel like is pretty character developy. You've been watching more shoujo? I see. Also romance, chat. any of you watched Nisekoi, I'm wondering if I should watch it because it looks so cute and that main character girl looks so cute with the big bow. Yeah. The other thing I feel like about shonen is like half of the MCs are like pure, clean, goody, super two shoes, right? They're like the perfect person, and then the other half are like angsty edgelord, rah, rah, Kirito, rah. they're aura farming. You haven't seen any Nisekoi apart from the fan subs? Yeah, I mean, I really haven't seen any of it either. I remember seeing shorts and being like, damn, that's cute. Honestly, YouTube Shorts feeds me so many anime recommendations. I just see a short from some new show and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna add this to my Crunchyroll watch list. And my Crunchyroll watch list always gets longer. I haven't even watched Oshino Ko yet, chat. Everything you're watching is Yuri? Did you finish Licorice Recoil? Chat. That's such a good one. Such a good one. We love Yuri. We love cute anime girls. Speaking of cute anime girls. Chat, have any of you played that new Claire game? Claire Obscure Expedition 33? I played it on stream the first time the other night. Those girls are cute. Those girls are cute. Toxic old... Why does it have to be toxic? It would have been fine if it wasn't toxic, Cat Goes Mew. You know? And I mean, I think it being old is kind of weird too, but we love a good boys' love in this household. We like some good old BL. I mean, love is love, chat. Love is love. And if you can't support boys kissing boys, then is it really fair for you to support girls kissing girls? You should support them all. Yep. Yep. Girls kissing girls, just like me kissing your mother. Got him. Got him. Got him. You knew it was coming though, chat, because you're lovely, loyal viewers who always know that I'm gonna make your mom jokes for no reason. Boys should kiss boys and girls should kiss girls and everyone should kiss Ash? No. No. Stay away from Ash. Mine. What if you're your own... Cat Goes Mew family tree is a circle. Reproduction via what is it? When cells just split themselves? Asexual reproduction? Meiosis? Mitosis? Mybosis? Time travel? Yeah. The Yandere protocols just, they come out as soon as it starts. It's just immediate. Stay away from her. Stay away from her, chat. My toes? Tomatoes. Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, chat. Hold on. I need a drink. I need a drink, chat. Mouth is getting dry. Okay, I'm back. You're thirsty? Get something to drink, cat goes Mew. Meanwhile, I need to ask you, chat. Is building computers even, like, reasonable nowadays? Like, I'm really I told you I bought the 5080 yesterday, and then I was like, graphic cards are available. Time to build. Better assemble all my... better order all the parts, chat. So then I was like, okay, now we have to hunt down a motherboard to match a processor, right? We have to, like, sort out all this stuff. We have to size a power supply. And I realized, like, is it worth it for me to spend all this money? My 5080 cost fucking $1,600, chat. And that's just the 5080. And then I was like, well, if you're gonna get such a good card, you better get a good CPU. Better get at least an i7. That's another $300+ down the drain. And if you're gonna get an i7, you need to match the motherboard to it. Your card is white, so you should go for a white build. You know, white motherboard's gonna be $300 more. So right there, chat, right there, I'm already fucking over $2,000 on this build. Over $2,000 I spent yesterday, chat. And of course, you know, if I'm going to make this a computer that I can keep streaming and recording videos on, gonna need some good storage. Gonna get one of those fancy new NVMe drives. They're not even that new, chat. But if you're already going through all this stuff, you don't want to bottleneck anywhere. So might as well pull the trigger on fancy PCIe 4, PCIe 5 NVMEs. That's $200. Build is already going like crazy in terms of budget. And I can afford it. But part of me is like, if Papa Bell saw how much money I was spending on this, he would not approve. But can it run Doom? Oh, it'll definitely run. Honestly, chat, part of me... I mentioned that, like, I would want a 5090, right? Cause right now what I run is I run a 3090. And when you're on, like, 90 series card, when you stop, or a whatever series 90 card, then anything that's not a 90 is gonna be in some ways a downgrade, right? So even going from 3090 to 5080, I was like, wait a second, this is a little bit of a downgrade because I'm going from 24 gigs of VRAM to 16. And I'm like, yeah. Maybe I should really just pony up the extra money to go to 5090 then. But that literally doubles the cost. What the fuck? Also, low-key, I was like, 5090s draw a lot of power. 5090s sometimes melt their cables. Maybe not. Is PCIe a measurable improvement at all? Yes. In that it's measurable. Is it noticeable for a user? Probably not, because no one does anything that needs transfer rates that fast. I mean, I think you could if you were just like moving things around, right? You could get value out of it, but I think probably not value that is worth the money, right? I mean, it's also just a I hate this word because it gets used so much, and I think people overdo it, but it's like a sort of future-proofing thing, and where you're just like building for what might get used more as technology develops, right? So one of the things I did was like I said, I felt like I should at least get an i7, right? Because I'm an Intel girly. Like, I know right now, I think the processor market, like, a lot of people feel like AMD is better, but I'm an Intel girly. So I was like, okay, we'll get an i7. For a second, I was like, i9. But then I realized if we're going a tier down on the GPU, it's fine to go a tier down on the CPU. And then the question was like, well, do I go for a 14th gen, or do I go for this Intel Core Ultra? Which, by the way, I don't even know why they fucking changed their name scheme from 13th gen to 14th gen to Core Ultra. You know, they all do some weird stuff. Fellow Intel user? Yeah, I mean, I think Intel is like the majority of the market, right? I think. Maybe not for PC builders, but I think pre-built PCs tend to be Intel, right? I don't think I've ever seen a workstation or laptop that you buy at like Costco or somewhere that doesn't use Intel, from what I can tell. But anyway, it was like, do I get the 14th gen i7, the 14700K, or do I get this new Core Ultra i7, which I think is like 265K? Don't ask me why these numbers are what they are. They're kind of silly. And honestly, whenever I was looking at it, I was looking at all the reviews and people were like, Core Ultra, disappointing. You know, Core Ultra is a new gen, so you expect to see better performance, but it's mostly not better. In fact, sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's worse than 14th gen. But, your girl, I still opted to get it. I went for the Core Ultra. One thing is because they're basically the same price, right? So, if they're basically the same price, then it's not like I'm really dishing out more money for it. But also, I think it's going to have better support in the future, right? They're going to continue developing technologies for this new architecture, because it runs on the new architecture. But I think the old architecture is not going to get as much support, right? So there's some, like, little bits of future-proofing, right? Even if right now people are like, performance gain is so minimal that it was really disappointing. Just like the 50 series. 50 series performance gain was so minimal, it was really disappointing. And I guess I do feel like a little disappointed that my 5080 isn't as powerful as it should be. Because apparently in the past, like, the 80s are comparable to the 90s of the last gen, right? So the 5080 should have been able to catch up with the 4090, but that's not the case this time, and now I feel sad. I'm like, I should have had the second best graphics card in the world. Now I have the third. Now I have the third. Frick you, Nvidia, frick you. But at the end of the day, like, I have to keep tempering myself, because all of these components are, like, actually crazy, right? Am I ever going to push this system to its limits? Probably not. Probably never, to be honest. Unless I'm running, you know, 4K AAA games, this GPU is gonna cover it. And unless I'm running simultaneously, while running these games, I'm simultaneously doing MATLAB simulation and video editing at the same time, I'm probably not going to run into any limits from the CPU, right? So do I need any of this? Yeah, probably not. Probably not. That's why it's a poor financial decision, chat. Poor Poor decision making. But it's cool. I feel like that's part of the appeal of building a CPU, is it's just like something cool to call your own. Right? You're like, yes, I built this. It's super sick. Will I ever use it to its full potential? No, but it's super sick. I guess it's the same as sports cars, right? Like, I never really understood the appeal of sports cars. Cause, like, I'm never gonna be driving fucking 140 miles per hour. Heck, I'm probably not even gonna drive 100 miles an hour. Which is what my, like, little Toyota sedan can do. So, to me, I was always like, why would I spend an extra $40,000, $20,000 to $40,000 extra to have, like, a super high-performance sports car if I'm never gonna use it? Right? And that always felt silly to me. I felt like, oh, people with these big sports cars are just... they're insecure white men who are compensating. But then I think about what I do with computers and I'm like, oh, I guess it makes sense. I guess it makes sense. I could have nicer jewelry. I could have nicer makeup. But no, my money is going to computers. And hopefully a Switch 2 at some point. Frick. All my money goes to technology. It's not good, chat. It's not good. I think it sort of balances out, though, because I spend a lot less money on, like, clothes than my sister. I think my sister spends, like, hundreds of dollars on clothes a month. I spend maybe like $200 every 2 months. I don't buy clothes that often. You know? Maybe some seasonal stuff, a seasonal outfit, but the computer, yeah, I mean, I also sort of justify it, right? This is one of the few times Papa Bell has, like, something Papa Bell has said has made me feel better about my own life, because I'm gonna be honest, chat, every time Papa Bell talks to me, I feel like Papa Bell's really condescending and is like, I wouldn't do that. That's silly. And it doesn't even matter what I'm doing. Papa Bell's always gonna be like, I would do the opposite. You know, like, I think it's some sort of complex, right? Where he just wants to contrarian me, whatever I'm doing. But anyway, one of the few times in my life, Papa Bell has said something that made me feel good about my decisions. Papa Bell, when I was building my computer the first or second time, Papa Bell was like, yeah, it's a lot of money, but you spend, like, 4+ hours a day on your computer. At least you're gonna get like get your value out of it. And that made me feel really good. Now I sort of use that to justify every time I'm buying, like, computer stuff, is like, in terms of dollar per hour, this is probably some of the best value I'm ever going to get. This over $2,000 3090 that I bought at the peak of scalping in 2023, that was like $2,400. I have put countless hours on this thing. I have definitely gotten my dollar to hour ratio. Now, could I have gotten the same amount of hours on a cheaper card? Yes. Yes. But it's not like me spending a couple $1,000s was, like, hugely wasted, you know? Don't throw it out. You know, it doesn't just sit in the corner. It gets used every freaking day. Probably to an unhealthy amount, chat. Speaking of, with all this computer stuff, chat, you guys, would any of you guys be interested in watching computer building stream? I have to sort out a way where I can video it without doxing myself, though. I mean, it sounds super fun, right? I think building computers is like a super fun process. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm really just worried about doxing myself. and the other thing is, like, how do I get a good view of everything I'm... Like, the sort of answer, of course, is to do top-down perspective, right? But I feel like top-down is super, super mega dangerous for doxing. And with, like, my glass panels, you're gonna see reflections everywhere. What am I gonna do about my glass panels? Chat. Gotta cover them up. Desk cam? Yeah, I mean... I think... I don't know. Maybe what I'll try and do is I'll try and, like, tape a phone to my head or some shit. Bell cutout face mask? No. No. That sounds really hard to see out of. I guess also what sounds hard to see out of is a phone taped in front of my fat head, though. We'll see. Local library has a GoPro kit? Wait, Chat, do libraries rent GoPros out? Is that a thing? Now I need to know. Also, I don't know where the local library is other than the university. I mean, maybe my university rents them out. That sounds like something they might do. Your library has a 3D printer? I don't think my library does, but it's the university, right? The university for sure has 3D printers, laser cutters, whatever. Your university library lets you borrow webcam and mic. I see, naruhodo. Wait, that's the right word for it. Any Japanese speakers in here? Is that the right word? I think that's what that means. Is like, I understand? Naruhodo, is it naruhodo ne? Or naruhodo? You're just learning, but that's right? Okay. We're going to slowly, just randomly, slowly morph into Henya, chat. Slowly but surely, we're going to become Henya Dayo. It's like I get it or I understand. Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, if I put together my PC, I'll probably try and make it a stream. Honestly, there's a non-zero chance that I'll be moving soon. And if I'm going to move soon, I might wait until after I move to put together the PC. Because I feel like moving a tower computer is just it's a risk that I don't think you should take if you have the opportunity to avoid it, right? Moving out of the US? I wish I could be moving to Ash's bedroom, but I think I just need to find a cheaper apartment. My apartment no good. My apartment no good. My apartment costs more than my new computer build will. I guess that's indicative of how horrible it is. So Nat is like asking for a conversation, asking for validation, I guess. Okay. Interesting. Is that, so can you just say nah on its own? Is that like saying like, yeah? Yeah? I'm cute, yeah? I'm a top quality streamer, nah? More subtle version of, isn't it? I see. In it? Gay girls, in it? You can say it by itself, but it doesn't have the same meaning? I see. I see. Chat, why am I learning Japanese before I'm learning Chinese? Mama Bell's gonna kill me. Mama Bell's gonna strangle me. Speaking of, it's Mother's Day this coming weekend, right? Do you guys have any cool Mother's Day plans? I'm supposed to go spend time with Mama Bell. The results may not be that positive, chat. May not be that positive. But I feel like maybe it's a little bit messed up, but I feel like part of it is just out of obligation, you know? It's my responsibility to spend time with Mama Bell. And I feel like that's maybe like a little bit sociopathic, you know? But you going to eat at your grandparents'? Have fun with that, Penboo. You're headed out, Skill Issue? Have a good one, Skill Issue. Enjoy your whatever Tuesday, your kiwi day. Chat, now I want kiwis. Are kiwis in season right now? What season are kiwis? See, kiwis are best October through May. Wait, kiwis are still maybe a little in season. Chat, add it to the list. Add it to the list. Tomorrow, Costco run. Acquire kiwis. You cut yourself holding a metal rod? Why are you holding a metal rod? Why is your metal rod not finished? Why do you have burrs on your metal rod? Why did you not fillet the edges? Huh? Wait, is it fillet or chamfer? I think it's fillet. Fillet versus chamfer. Oh wait, they're both applicable here. Okay. For some reason I thought one was an internal angle and the other is external angle, but they're both external. You should have filleted it. It's just that the end of the rod is really sharp for some reason. You mean to tell me you have a spear? You have a poker? A needle? Why? What purpose does this serve you? Why do you have a weapon? Also, like, actually I'm wondering why you would just have a metal rod sitting around. Is it a wand? Are you, like, Expecto Patronus? I guess wands are wood, right? Metals maybe for something more engineering-y. So instead of Expecto Patronus, you're like Young's Modulus. Yeah. If I watch a Xenotime stream, it should come as no surprise. I mean, just because it not being surprising is not an answer for why he has it, though, right, chat? Like, I know that Pirate Software has a giant wooden spoon. And that's not surprising, but there's still the question of, like, why, right? It's just that right angle at the end of the cylinder is really sharp. Yeah, you should have chamfered it, filleted it. Filleted it. It's definitely... I don't think it should be filleted. But now I'm hungry. Now I'm thinking of food. You just wanted to fidget with the parts of a... Oh, it's a guide rail. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. I mean, your guide rail doesn't need to be... It doesn't need to be sharp at the edge, right? Hard edges are bad, Xenotime. Hard edges cause what are called stress concentrations. that causes things to break. So there's like an actual real reason to to not have hard edges. You imagine it as like you stole them? Okay, well, I'm gonna pretend you didn't just admit to a felony. But if we... Sorry, I'm just gonna talk about stress concentrators because I think they're, like, sort of interesting when you, like, realize the visualization, right? So if you have a rod, right? That is, like, whatever. Circular rod, and it has radius r, and you have a second one that is like the same sort of circular rod, except at the bottom, what it is there's like a bigger rod, right? And this is all one piece. Again, this is radius r. You'd be like, which one is stronger? If I pull on them, you know, I sort of expect this one on the right would be stronger, right? Because it's got more material, so it's sort of like beefier there. But the one that fails first is this one on the right because of what I talked about with the stress concentrators. They were lying around the makerspace and nobody knew what they were, and so, I mean, I don't know if I would just take random shit around your makerspace, but you do you. I mean, I guess I'm just a less assertive person, right? But the idea with these, like... Wait, fillet? Fillet with one L? Okay, is fillet with one L... Is one of them pronounced fillet and the other is fillet? Or are they both fillet? Or are they both fillet? I don't know. I don't know. But if you're like pulling on these two rods, sorry, I just keep talking about these stress concentrators because this is such a fascinating concept to me. Where if you pull on them both with force F, right? And that means over the area, it's stress F over A. This one on the left is like very evenly distributed, right? The one on the right is also evenly distributed at the top the same way. It's F and F over A. And at the bottom, it's F and F over, or it's the same force, right? Because it's tension. And it's F over, like, 2A or whatever. Bigger A. Right? So it's spread out more evenly, so it's less stress. And so now you have like a lower density of your arrows, right? They're more spread out. If you think of these forces as like vectors. The problem is, at some point in the middle, around these corners, what ends up happening is the forces like clump together, right? As they like start to merge. Or as they start to spread. And that causes like really tightness, closeness of the force arrows, which means higher force over, or same force over smaller area, or we'll say 0.75 area. And so you have higher stress, even though it's technically like, this piece is technically just more material, right? So you'd be like, oh, it should be stronger. Should be stronger. You concentrate all the force at these like weird spots. And then you end up with force concentrators and it breaks. Metal fillet is called fillet? Yeah. But are the fish and the meat, are they both called fillet? Is it fish fillet or fish fillet? Yeah, I mean, it's me like really nerding out about something, but I really felt like this visualization straight from my, like, what I remember the textbook, like, 6 years or some shit ago. Literally several years ago, it still sticks with me. Is, like, just this exact explanation with, like, arrows. Right? Arrows displaying how the force, like, transfers through the material. And I could have probably drawn it better. But that's why whenever you see things, right, they're actually, like, it's actually structurally important to round things. Actually makes them stronger. Which is why your rod, you should... I mean, it's less applicable to a rod, right? More usually when you're, like, actually have weird geometries. But your rod, you should still fill it. You should fill it in chamfer everything. Fillet. Okay. They're both pronounced fillet. Fish fillet. Meat fillet. Delicious. I want food now, chat. But my diet. Yeah. My diet is my soul leaving my body. But I want the cute summer body. Ah! I want to look good at Off-Kai. Chat. I want to look good at Anime Expo. Chat. Beauty is pain. That's what I've learned. Beauty is pain. Anyway, sorry for my little tangent about stress concentrators. My life is very stressed and it's concentrated right about now. Okay, chat. I'm actually hungry now, though. I think... Man, I didn't even play any Clair Obscur. But I think I'm gonna try and grab a snacky. So I think we're gonna call it for the stream for tonight. Let me see if I can find someone to raid. Give me 1 sec, chat. Stay for the raid. Stay for the raid. Bum bum. Who's on? Dang it, Misa, why are you not streaming today? Okay, I think... Let's raid... Cyrene. She's playing Valorant. Just say hi, be good raiders. Have a good night, chat. Thanks for watching, thanks for all the time, thanks for the new follows, thanks for the raiders. Yeah, we'll be back. Hopefully we'll be back a lot this week. We really need to do that Mahjong training arc. Mahjong training arc, chat. I need to... Maybe I'll download Mahjong Soul or something. I need to, like, play against bots or something. Okay. Have a good one, chat. I'll see you tomorrow. Or whenever. Maybe not tomorrow. I'll see you later this week. Have a good one. Good night. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Be good, raiders.